How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm good. Thank you for joining this mock interview. And I know you're doing job hunting, and here you're making good progress.
Yeah, it's going really well. Thank you.
Good, good. So today I have three questions for you. The first one is about your previous projects. The second one is about the SQL, and the third one is about a machine learning algorithm. And I will tell you exactly what it is when we are there. So are you ready for the first question?
Yes.
Good. So can you tell me a project that you have done in which you have to work in a team or work with external partners? How was that experience?
Yeah. In my previous job, I worked to create tests that would allow us to analyze pharmaceuticals. And uh, there was a period of time where we had a material we had been making for quite a while, and the old test had some problems with it, and we realized it. And so I had to really quickly work up a plan for how we were going to rectify it, how we were going to test what was wrong with it, and test to make sure that it met all the other criteria. I had to present that to the client and take their feedback and make sure that I was actually giving them a document that they could use in their filing for the FDA. And then I had to work very closely every day with our members of quality assurance so that as
Mhm.
every step got finished, they could say, yes, this does meet all of the regulatory and compliance burdens that we have. So it was constant. It was just, I would finish my work, I would write it up quickly, I would get it to QA. They would give me some feedback, and I would take that feedback and then fix it. And it was really a good back and forth. I just made sure that also I was very um, present for any questions that anybody had, to make sure that they were aware that they could use me as a resource. They didn't have to figure out where I was going with something. If it wasn't clear, they could just ask. So
Yeah, it sounds good. Sounds like you're an API to them. They just have a clean interface, right? That's nice. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to our next question. So can you open the link I just sent to you
Mhm.
and share your screen?
And
The SQL Zoo.
um, great.
Yeah, that's it. You can clear this input. Yeah, because we don't need that.
Okay.
Right. So here we have a database. Here we have a table whose name is world.
Okay.
So as the first step, can you show me several lines or several rows of this table? Just do nothing special. Just select star, and show the first several rows of this table from world. Yeah. This is to get yourself familiar with what's going on here. Yeah. Yeah. Limit is good.
No.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Let me see. Is this? I'm not sure whether I gave you the correct data table name.
Oh, right. Hmm.
So can you just don't use this limit? Just select everything. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So in this case, we have a table and we have a name, continent, area, population, GDP, capital, top level domain, and I believe the last one is a URL to the image,
Okay.
image of the flag. Okay. So yeah, this is the table. The first question would be, can you select the population of Russia?
Sure. Okay. Oh.
Yeah, it works. So which part is wrong? Do you need a quote?
Yeah.
So is there a difference between double quote and a single quote in SQL?
I've never seen one in Postgres. Oh,
Yeah.
but there is.
Yeah, there is. All right. So now you have the population of Russia. The next step, you can copy this query you just wrote, to put it somewhere else, and we are going to use it again later. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. But before that, we'll work on another question. So you just make a copy of that. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Who is this little cute boy?
Hi, Duncan. This is my nephew, Duncan.
Oh, nephew.
He is why I was late. Hey, can you go on, everybody? Okay, thank you. I'll come down. I'll come get you when I'm done. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Let's work at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So did you make a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Next question is about group by. So we have many countries. So now let's say I want to find all the populations according to the continent. So I just want to group by the continents, then find out the total population per continent. Can you do that?
Sure. So
Yeah, you can delete this part since you already have the copy.
total population per continent.
Per continent, yeah.
Okay. Oh.
So what does this mean?
Oh. The world is ambivalent in this likeness. Not either. Oh, some
Right.
population.
Right, because we had total population. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, good. Can you order by the sum of population? Because I want to know which continent has the largest population.
Sure. Order. You want to see descending order or ascending order?
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Order.
Looks good. Good. So Asia and Africa has the largest population. Yeah, that makes sense. That's true. All right. So next step, I want you to combine the query you wrote at the in the first part and this part. So the logic is this: we first filter all the countries we only want to keep the countries whose population is larger than Russia's, then we do the aggregation group by.
Okay. Okay.
You can keep most of the code here because they will be reused. You need to find a place to insert the query you wrote in the previous step and filter the countries according to the population.
Okay. Right. So
you can paste them here. Okay, so here you see the lower right corner, there is a small icon, like a small, you can basically enlarge this like input box.
Sure.
Yeah, so you see everything, good.
Okay. So normally, I believe I would look this up, but I would say I would set this as a second table. But
So can we do without creating temporary table? Can we just use like a subquery? Like a select, then in this select query, you have another select, which only returns one single numerical output, which is the population of Russia.
okay, right. And this would be in quotes and parentheses.
Yep, but probably not here.
Okay.
So yeah, so let's relax and think about this logic. You first get the population of Russia, then you use this population to filter the country. So if it's a normal SQL query, at which step do you do the filtering or the where clause?
Okay, so you first get your work from, and then you go after that to your where. So you first get from, and then you go filter it. So you're
Yeah.
not doing everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then you select.
You can basically copy
Where?
because you already have them there, right? Yeah, I need to mute my notification. Okay, sorry about that. All right. So
Okay.
now you have to like incorporate the logic that we want country whose population is larger than Russia's.
Right. Okay. So I would need to do. Okay. So normally I would call this something.
Okay,
I would say
it's up to you.
So okay. This okay.
So how about we move the population right after the where greater than this parentheses. We just don't care about its name.
Oh, right.
See what I mean? Yeah. Just copy this, right? Not this where. This where is in the subclause. There is another where in our main clause, in our main query. You see, at line 4, there is another where.
Mm-hmm.
and you just copy population there. Yeah, and you remove the greater than quote Russia. Also remove the Russia because something greater than a string doesn't make sense.
I see.
Yeah. So one way to, yeah, you can try it run again, but I think there's going to be another error. So one way to help you to visualize this is to do some indentation. So can you put this like a query, like subquery, like a, and indent them, basically indent the fifth line and the sixth line. Yeah. Okay, it doesn't allow you to do indentation. You can type space to do the indentation if you want. Yeah. Now it's easier for you to visualize, right? Good. So now there is another issue. The issue is in the subquery. Can you find out? So that issue was, I believe you were trying to check the result, like when you do the first question, but that's actually a little bit redundant, I would say. So we only need the population of Russia. We don't need the name, right? Yeah, let's try again. All right, so something else is wrong. So you just mentioned where should we do the filtering, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here, in this case, should group by happen before the filtering or after the filtering?
Right. Right. So it would be having.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nope, not having. Yeah, you just copy what you just deleted. Yeah, because we don't have a condition actually after the group by. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. That's
Great.
nice. Yeah. So now you have Asia, North America, South America, and Africa. So here, can you explain where, like, not where, why Africa drops from the second to the last in this case?
Yeah, so it has more countries with lower population, which means that more countries with populations less than Russia, which means that you are disqualifying a lot of countries. So the total number of countries is higher, but the population per country is lower.
Comparing to Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this is a connection between the different queries and like I would say the facts that you know about the world population, world geology, something like that. So this makes perfect sense. Good, good. All right. So you can stop sharing screen, and I think you did a good job for the SQL part. We have the last question. It's about machine learning. So we're going to talk about the k-nearest neighbor algorithm, so KNN. So how would you explain KNN to someone who doesn't know statistics or mathematics much?
So KNN is a classification algorithm where what you're doing is you're checking to see what factors each each sample you have contain, and then you're saying, well, if the factors are very similar, then they are going to be in the same classification.
Same category,
They're,
basically.
they're near to each other in what they're like.
Sure, yeah, that's correct. So what's the meaning of the K in KNN?
K is the number of neighbors that you are going to consider to say, well, here are the number of things you're going to try to match yourself to when you have a new sample that you're looking at.
Yeah, that's right. So is K a parameter or a hyperparameter?
K is a hyperparameter because you can choose different ones and get different results.
I see. Good. So let's say we can change k from 1 to 2 to 3 and to arbitrary number integer you want. So if k is growing large, comparing to the total number of samples in your training set, if k is large, is our model becoming more complex or simpler?
Your model is becoming simpler. You
Why?
you're basically just, because if you go all the way to the end where the k is the same number as your samples, then you only have one type of sample, and you're just basically saying everything's the same. Then we're just
Yeah,
with.
perfect. That's very good, like thought experiment. As you said, if k is the number of samples we have, then the output will be uniform, like there's no difference. Yeah, you have no local structure. That's good. The next question, let's say we do a processing or pre-processing of our data such that all our features, like no matter which one, they are all bounded between 0 and 1. So all features are bounded between 0 and 1. And we call the total number of samples n. So when n grows larger, but we fix the k, do you estimate our prediction happens faster or slower? Basically, your training data is growing larger and larger. Total number is n, but k is fixed. Let's say k equal to 3 or 4, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Then how would your prediction perform behave? Is it going to be slower, faster, or doesn't change?
You have more samples, but you have the same number of neighbors that you're considering.
Yeah.
It would be slightly slower, because you still have to find neighbors for the new. You'd have to do a small number of averages that are
Yeah.
extra.
Let's say, is this temp complexity? Let's talk about this in the algorithmic complexity language. So how would you say the temp complexity when n grows, like in terms of big O notation?
It would be n, because you'd
On?
treat, right. You'd still
Yeah.
have to treat each one.
Yeah, essentially have to go over each one. So this will potentially makes the algorithm more and more, I would say, slower and slower. Yeah, but it's linear. It's not like worse. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a case where we have a lot of samples. So let's go back to another extreme. If you only have a limited number of training data, so you don't think they are enough. So how would you improve the performance of your k-NN classifier if the training data is not big enough? What options do you have?
Well, I would assume that you would consider more local neighborhoods and have a smaller n, a smaller k, to say that there's maybe more fine-grained changes.
You can, I would say the first option is always try to ask for more data, like from your providers. Like it sounds naive, but that's always the first ask. If that doesn't work, for example, the data is delayed somehow, your data provider is delaying the data delivery. So is there a way we can generate artificial data?
Oh, you could bootstrap to create more data points, to pick the same data points, but do it more often, to see what the average areas are.
Yeah, that's one way. But in that way, the data will be like still be the old ones. Like you cannot create new data, like artificial ones. So perhaps something called smooth. Do you still remember what it stands for? SMOTE.
No.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Review this after our mock interview. Yeah, that's fine. So I think you're doing good. Okay, you basically like clearly identified the meaning of K and its nature, its hyperparameter. You identify the idea of model complexity and also in terms of overfitting, underfitting, as well as the time complexity when the total number of samples increase. So I think that's good enough. All right. So that's the end of the last part of the last question. I think you did terrific job. Yeah.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So do you have questions for me regarding the today's questions?
Nope. I'm very sad about the sequel question.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit tricky if you just you didn't have like a you didn't review SQL, especially subquery, right before this interview. So it sounds a little bit unfamiliar, but that's fine. I think you type quickly, and I can see like your query matches your thoughts. So that's good. You just have some trouble like organizing them, puts them in the right order.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
My suggestion would be take a look at the subquery. I could do several more examples. Check the difference between where and having.
Mhm.
And there's a small mistake when you write the limit at the very beginning. Just remember, so check it. Other than that, I think your SQL is good.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
All right.